Hey, what's going on, everyone? Hope you're all doing great today. So, we've got some fresh news about Plants vs. Zombies Replanted, and yeah, this one's definitely worth talking about. The newest patch, Update 1.2.1, just dropped, and while it might not look massive on paper, it actually smooths out a bunch of things that players have been talking about since the last update. It's one of those smaller updates that doesn't necessarily add brand new content, but instead focuses on fixing, refining, and tightening up the overall feel of the game, which honestly is super important for something like Replanted, a remake that's supposed to honor the classic while still feeling modern. Now, for anyone who's been playing since launch, you probably remember that version 1.2 brought some pretty noticeable tweaks and new quality of life improvements. But after that update, a few players started bumping into issues. Small bugs, minor annoyances, a couple of things that just didn't feel quite right. So this new patch is basically PopCap and EA saying, "We hear you, let's clean this up." And that's exactly what they've done. First off, one of the biggest fixes in this update is all about stability and performance. A lot of players had reported that the game wouldn't even launch properly if the Steam overlay was turned off or if Steam was running in offline mode. That was frustrating for people who just wanted to play without the overlay, or for those who like playing on laptops without an internet connection. This patch addresses that completely. Now, the game boots up normally regardless of whether Steam Overlay is on or off, and you can play offline without running into those weird black screens or crash loops. It's one of those fixes that might sound small, but it makes a world of difference for accessibility and convenience. Speaking of accessibility, the team also went in and cleaned up a bunch of text and string issues throughout the game. These are things like misplaced text, incorrect labels, or weird formatting that popped up in some menus. Nothing game-breaking, but still, when you see tiny inconsistencies like that, they pull you out of the experience. The new patch tidies that up so everything feels more polished and uniform. Now, one of the biggest gameplay-related tweaks that really stands out here is all about the D-pad controls. Players who were using controllers, especially on PC or Switch, noticed that the D-pad movement sometimes felt a bit awkward or inconsistent. You'd press a direction and it wouldn't always move smoothly, or you'd overshoot the square you wanted to plant on. This update refines that movement so it feels a lot more responsive. Continuous movement now works the way you expect. It's smoother, more precise, and overall it just feels more natural to use. If you're someone who prefers playing with a controller instead of a mouse or touchscreen, this is a pretty big improvement that makes gardening against zombies a lot more satisfying. Another fix that had players talking involves the Cob Cannon, one of the fan-favorite plants from the later levels. Previously, if you were holding a plant and tried to fire the Cob Cannon at the same time, the game could glitch out and stop you from playing anything afterward. It was one of those random, hard-to-reproduce bugs that could completely throw off your rhythm, especially in the middle of a tough wave. That's been fixed now, so you can fire the Cob Cannon and plant without any weird interruptions. It's small, but man, if you've ever been in a late-night endless mode run and that bug hit you, you know how frustrating it was. And while we're on visuals, let's talk about the reward screens. You know that cool, "you got a new plant" moment that pops up when you unlock something new? Well, some players noticed that the resolution on that screen looked a bit off, especially when playing at higher resolutions or on ultra-wide monitors. The text and plant models didn't always scale correctly. The new update fixes that completely, so everything looks sharp and proportionate no matter what screen setup you're using. It's one of those polished touches that just makes the game feel more premium, more consistent. There was also a funny little visual bug where certain zombie models, like the retro zombie, would have attachments or pieces of their outfit floating weirdly or positioned just a bit off. Stuff like that doesn't ruin the game, but it's noticeable, especially when you've been staring at these characters for hundreds of hours since the original game days. The team cleaned that up too. Everything sits where it should now, and the visuals are more cohesive overall. Something I really appreciate about this update is that it feels like a thoughtful follow-up rather than just a rushed hotfix. PopCap clearly went through community feedback, pinpointed the most annoying bugs, and handled them efficiently. And it's cool to see how they're pacing these patches, rolling out bigger updates like 1.2 to introduce noticeable gameplay adjustments, and then following up with smaller refinements like 1.2.1 to make sure everything runs smoothly afterward. It's that steady, reliable, post-launch support that makes a remake feel alive rather than just a one-off nostalgia project. You can really feel how they're trying to balance keeping the charm of the original Plants vs. Zombies intact while still making it work perfectly for modern systems. For instance, controller optimization is something the original game didn't have to think about, but it's crucial now. And cleaning up bugs related to offline mode or Steam settings shows that they're aware of how players actually use the game in real-world situations. It's not just about frame rates or new plants, it's about the little things that make the experience seamless and frustration-free. What's also worth mentioning is that this update continues the trend of improving general polish throughout the menus and user interface. Transitions feel snappier, load screens are more consistent, and input lag during certain animations seems reduced. You might not notice all of these consciously, but if you've been playing regularly, you'll just feel that the whole thing flows better. The game boots faster, runs smoother, and reacts the way you expect it to. And that's honestly the beauty of updates like this. They're subtle, but they improve your overall experience in ways that stack up over time. When Replanted first launched, it was already a pretty faithful remake of the original, but like any modern release, it wasn't perfect out of the gate. Each patch has been another step toward making it the best version possible. This one, even though it's labeled as a smaller patch, plays a big role in reinforcing the stability and reliability of the game. It also shows that the developers are paying close attention to the feedback loop between them and the community. If you've been active on Reddit, Discord, or the Steam discussions, you'll see how quickly PopCap's team responds to bug reports and takes note of issues players bring up. That level of engagement is what keeps a remake from fading into the background after the initial hype dies down. Players want to know that their experiences matter, that when they point something out, someone on the dev team is actually listening. And with this patch, it's pretty clear they are. The other thing that stands out is the overall polish and presentation. From the visual touch-ups to smoother inputs, it all adds up to a game that feels more complete. It's like they're tightening the screws on every little part of the engine, making sure it purrs instead of rattles. And it's nice to see that even though this isn't a brand new content drop, they're still maintaining the kind of care and attention that keeps the game enjoyable long after launch. A lot of players have also been speculating about what this patch might mean for future updates. If 1.2.1 is the cleanup for version 1.2, that could mean the next major update might bring something new. Maybe an event, new challenges, or even small gameplay tweaks that expand the replayability. PopCap has been pretty good about keeping surprises under wraps until they're ready. But if the pattern continues, we might not be too far from something interesting in the next few months. But for now, the focus is clearly on making sure the foundation is solid. Every fix here adds stability, and that's the kind of groundwork you need before you start layering on more content. They've squashed bugs, tightened controls, cleaned visuals, and smoothed out the user experience in a way that feels intentional rather than reactive. It's the kind of maintenance patch that makes a good game feel great, and it's a reminder that quality of life updates can sometimes be just as exciting as new features. So if you've been taking a break from Replanted, now's actually a really good time to jump back in. The game feels smoother than ever, and those annoying little bugs that used to trip up gameplay have been ironed out. Whether you're playing casually or trying to 100% every mode, you'll notice the difference in how responsive everything feels. And if you've never played with a controller before, this might actually be the perfect patch to try it, because that D-pad improvement really makes a big difference. In the end, Update 1.2.1 might not be the flashiest patch in the world, but it's a great example of how to keep a game in top form after launch. It's the little fixes that keep players invested, the attention to detail that builds trust between developers and fans. And honestly, that's what's keeping Plants vs. Zombies Replanted feeling fresh and well-supported even months after release. The core gameplay, the charm, the strategy, the humor, it's all still there, but now it runs smoother, looks cleaner, and feels more responsive than ever.